This video is going to show you how to replace the gear in a Shoreline reel. This happens to be for my power cord. I've got a 2006 Monaco Camelot DSQ. Anyways, as you can see, mine is located right in this little box. You probably can't see it very good. I don't know if you can see, there's the Shoreline reel. Shows the model number and everything. I don't know if you can get to that, but anyway, so mine quit working. So when I hit my turn the power on, I can hear the motor running, but it is not pulling the cord back in. This seems to be pretty common. It's a gear that fails inside. Here's the gear right here. You can buy this replacement gear. There's some directions. It comes with rivets and everything. You could buy it. I think the guy's name's John Dalmorph. I'll put it in the link. He's out of California, but he sells these gears. So right there, of course, obviously I can't do it from here. I'm gonna have to go inside my coach, and I'll show you that here in a sec, how I have to get to mine. So most of them are actually in little bays, you know, the bays or whatever, like my water reel is in the bay. That one's starting to click, so I'm gonna have to replace that gear as well. So the only way to access my power reel for my power cord is in the rear bathroom. There's actually a little access panel right here. This just pops right off. This is my access cover. Right there's the reel. I still can't reach in there to disassemble it because there's 4 bolts that actually go through the wood on the bottom. That's what secures it. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to take that floor out right there, which of course I'm going to have to unscrew, take those out. There were 2 shelves in here. I removed those already because I'm putting a washer dryer combo in here. But anyways, I'm thinking I'm going to have to remove these, and then I'll be able to pop the floor right up, and hopefully I'll be able to get to it, and I'll show you from there. So I've taken off this rail. It was right here. They're just screws holding it in, Phillips screws, just like the back one. And it appears just to be a false wall, as you can see. It'll come right out. Those back screws weren't even attached. The bottom one was attached. All the rest of them are just going into nothing. Also appears this rear wall is just a false wall as well. That just comes out, and that gets me back to all my hookups for my washer dryer. But again, my whole goal is I need to get to this, open up this floor so I can get down to my shore reel. And then this floor with the carpet on it, I just took a screwdriver, push it down in there, and again, it'll come up right up as well. All right, so to get this other wall off over here, I took this shelf bracket off. Then you have to remove that bottom screw as well on this side. You can see it's not even attached up there, but this whole thing just comes right off as well. Again, my whole goal is I need to get to the floor. I need to get down in there so I can get to my shore reel. So I had to take off the framing that was back here. It went from there across there to it held up the dummy wall that covered up all the plumbing and stuff. You just basically have to hammer it out. They stapled it in the bottom, and then up here they stapled it off to the sides up there. As you can see, look how many staples they put in. So I just got to hammer it out. Not sure if I'll put it back up or not. So I've got the floor out, and it basically, after I took out the framing that was right there in the back there, they have all these screws toe-nailed in. See that right there? They got it toe-nailed all the way around the edges. And as you can see how it's all just breaking right there? See how it all just breaks right up there? So the way they designed this isn't good. Considering this is where my 150 to 200 pound washer dryer is going to go, I'd imagine it's over 100. Well, I know it's at least 150. There are no supports in here either. Granted, I can get to my my reel, but there are no supports in here. So I'm going to take some 2x4s and make some supports before I put this piece of wood back in. I may just get a whole other piece of wood as well and screw it down into the 2x4 so it actually will hold my washer dryer combo back here. Anyways, so there you go. So I finally got to my Shoreline reel, which is located under my back rear closet in the bathroom. This is just where all my towels go right here, and this is where a washer dryer is going to go. Anyways, finally got to it, and I'm about to replace the gear that went bad. So first thing I do recommend is that you do unplug from your power source. So make sure there's no power coming into this. The gear is located on the opposite side where the power goes in. So you can see right here, my power goes in right to this side. So my gear is located on that back side. Couple things to do. You're going to need to disconnect where the power comes from for the switch, the on-off switch. Right there. I recommend taking a picture so you know which one goes which. It is color coded, at least on mine it is. I am going to disconnect. You see my power cord is secure to the floor right there, so I'm probably going to take that off. And then there are 4 bolts. There's a bolt right there. There's a bolt right back there. There's one on this back side you can see straight down. And then there's one over here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's straight down there. Anyways, take those 4 bolts off. It just bolts right to the floor. I'm then going to roll it on its side and go from there. Alrighty, so again, my shore power is disconnected now. I did disconnect the wires for the switch. Be very careful with this. It was a little challenging to get them off. They've been on since 2006, so I guess that's understandable. I just used a little bit of WD-40, just some any kind of lubricant or whatever, put a couple sprays in there. I took a regular screwdriver and just pried it very carefully. Just went like this, just turning the screwdriver like this, prying it, eventually came off. I did take this wire screw off, holding that off, and now I am taking off the bolts. I do recommend, if you're in a tight spot, I've got some extensions. Looks like this is what is it, a 3/8 socket that I'm using to take those bolts. Who knows what yours are, but an extension makes life easier. So I'm going to take those 4 bolts off, securing this to the floor, and we'll go from there. All right, so again, I've got the wires for the switch disconnected. I've got the 4 bolts off. There's what they look like. This one back here was a pain to get to, but it is unscrewed. I'm going to need to cut these zip ties, all the wires here. I'm going to need to cut those zip ties off, at least the big one for sure. And there are 2 more mounts, wire mounts that hold these wires to the floor that you have to take off. There's one right there, and then there's another one right back in there. So I'm going to have to unscrew those real quick. And I should be able to put this on its side, and we'll go from there. So I've literally had to take every zip tie off, just about so far. And then the wire, it's being held back here. I don't know if you could see that or not. There's a zip tie there, a zip tie down towards the bottom. Hopefully once I take those off, I'll be able to pull this away. So I did have to take the zip ties off this. This is just the switch wire that went right in there. It zip tied all down there. So I disconnect that, and now I can finally pull this out and move it on its side. All right, so I finally have it out, and as you can see, I can move it around at will. Of course, again, just to recap, I had to disconnect the 2 wires that go to the switch. I had to take the 4 bolts out that hold it to the floor. I had to cut all the zip ties out. And now I'm ready to drill out the rivets. You got 2 rivets right there, and then you got 3 on each side holding this in. And the pack that you get from the guy in California, I will post his contact information as well. Comes with 4 short rivets, 6 long rivets, and then the gear, of course. And when I spoke with him on the phone, he just said to use some white lithium grease, just any kind of grease. You don't put a bunch on, but just grease this fitting before you put it on. So I'm going to drill out these rivets and go from there. Just wanted to show a quick video of me drilling out the rivets. For those of you who have never drilled out a rivet, just get a drill bit slightly larger than the hole that the rivet goes in. And you drill. this little bit. And there you go. That's all you got to do, and you're going to do it on those two, and then 3 on this side, and then 3 on that side. I will mention this. Once you get the tops of the rivets off, you do have to drill all the way through into the box to get it completely off. So once the top of the rivet comes off, you do have to drill all the way in, so it goes all the way into the box just like so. You got to do that on all 6. All right, so after you get all 10 of the rivets completely drilled out, this piece just comes right off like so. That's what it looks like on the inside there. Here's the gears that turn this. So there's 1, there's 2, and there is the culprit right there. As you can see, it's cracked, so I'm going to take that one off, put the new one in, grease it all up real good, put it back together, and I should be good to go. All right, so I've cleaned up the area, getting ready to put this all back together. As you can see, here's the bad gear. It just literally broke in half. So the new gear is going to go on right there. I am going to grease it up. I'm going to grease these up a little better as well. Here's the new gear. As you can see, it's got a flat edge, and right there is the flat edge that it's going to go on. So it can only go on one way. So I'm going to spray some lithium grease on this, grease this up a little bit, put her all back together. Okay, so before I put this all back together, I'm going to lubricate the new piece, the new gear that goes in the middle right there. As I mentioned, there is a flat spot in it, and there's a flat spot that it goes right over, so you can't put this in wrong. I wiped up some of the grease in here and just reused it, put it back on the gears. As you can see, the gears still have some grease in it. I'm just going to hit it with some silicone as well. And again, just some silicone spray. The guy said you put some on. You don't have to put a bunch on, he said. This stuff dries too, so I'm just gonna hit all this. You can use whatever grease you want. The guy in Cali, when I talked to him, he just said to go ahead, and he said you don't have to use a bunch of it. So I probably use 2. But anyway, so as you can see, I got some on there. Just wipe up some of the excess. It's all good. It's all ready to go back in. Bang. Alrighty, so we got that now. Again, this is the old piece. We don't need that. It's garbage. Here's the new one. It's all lubed up and ready to go. Just going to put it right, line up the flat spot. You do have to push it down sort of hard. Probably going to tap it just a little bit with a hammer. Be very careful when you're doing this. Last thing you want to do is crack it. Just nice and easy. It's going to be right. So it's nice and flush right there. So then these pieces will just go on like this. Like so. Those are going to sit right in there. There's a gear right there that goes in there. It's going to sit just like that. So I'm probably going to tap it down just a little more so these bigger gears are right in the center of this gear, because this thing isn't going to move. Actually, I'll just leave it right there. So it looks like it lines up good. Now I just got to put the cover back on, re-rivet it, and I'll be good to go. Now I do want to point out, before you put the cover back on this, make sure that there's an even amount of space between the gear and this metal piece right here. Now the cover has 2 pins or 2 shafts that the big gears go on, so that's going to keep the gears from moving. That's going to keep them in that position, but make sure this gear is not on this metal right here. So make sure there's an even gap right there, and right there and there as well. So now then when you put the cover back on, it's going to go in these holes. It's going to sink down on, and it's going to hold it in that position. That's when you put the new rivets back on. So I've got the cover back on, lined up nice. Again, the kit comes with 4 shorter rivets. Those are the 4 that go right here. 6 longer rivets for the 3 on this side and the 3 on that side. Now I'm just going to use my rivet tool and just rivet these things on, and I'll be good to go. All right, so I'm about to put the rivets on. I got my rivet tool here. The only thing you do is just slide it right down over like so. Just like that, push down. You just gotta squeeze away. And there you go. I'm going to do that all the way around and for the other 10. All right, so I've got all the bolts back in, the 4 bolts. It's bolted to the ground. Got the wires connected back up. I have it zip tied real nice down there and along the bottom, so no loose wires are going to hit the reel as it's turning. And we're ready to test her out. Already in the moment of truth now. Let's see if she's going to wind in. And bada bing, we're good, and we'll pull it back out. Good to go.